Hi, everybody. Sherry Leopold here, and I am delighted to be back with you with another powerful Wow Warrior honoree. I want to welcome Dr. Beatrice, known as B to me, B Moore. I'm so happy that you're here, B. Thank you for being with me today.
Thank you for the invitation and the honor.
Yeah, and I do want to, before I go any further, say congratulations on being part of the 2024 Wow Warrior community. We are so lucky to have you as one of the honorees this year. And I just want to say congratulations.
Thank you.
So I am very aware because you and your, well, shall we say, partner in crime, I'll let you talk about her, are part of the Wow Warrior magazine as columnists. So I'm so grateful for that. But I want you to share a little bit about who Dr. Beatrice Moore is so that our viewers can learn a little bit more about you and how you serve.
Okay. Well, hello, everyone. And again, thank you. This is an honor. A little bit about me. This is my 44th year in math education. I am a mathematics educator by training, by profession. I have my own consulting business. I've been a math supervisor. I've written math textbooks, Algebra 1, Algebra 2 in middle school, and have served in various capacities on national boards and done a lot of volunteer work. And I'm currently the executive director of the Benjamin Banneker Association, which is a national group. We advocate for teachers and for students. And so that has been one of my most rewarding jobs that I have had. On the flip side of math, then, as Sherry had mentioned, my partner in crime during COVID, when everything shut down and there was no work to do, my partner, Vernita Harris, we are friends from college. We are business partners. And so we wrote a cookbook together. And so that opened up a whole another avenue in my creative life of writing a cookbook. Nothing that I ever expected to do or planned to do, but I love to cook, and I'm known as the passionate cook. And then I've also written two fiction novels with a high school friend of mine. And that series, there are two books, is Shoe Fetish. And it's not about shoes, but it's about relationships. And we make analogies to shoes. So I have been a creative person all my life. I thank God for that gift and the gift of creativity and telling, because to be an effective teacher, you have to be an effective storyteller to get their attention and keep their attention. So that's a little bit about me.
And creative you are, B, and you can see it all across the cookbook. I do have one of the books in your shoe series, so I just realized I need to get the second one. So anyway, thank you so very much. You are obviously so multi-talented. We could talk for an hour probably on all the things that you've done. But trust me when I say that B knows the difference between TSP and capital T PSP. She
Yes.
knows her math. So I love learning more about you. And I really want to ask you, B, when you hear the words woman of worth, what does that mean to you to be a woman of worth?
It means a lot because it says that I am valuable. And that's number one. I am worthy. I am a woman of worth. I am valuable. And I just am so appreciative of this honor that says that I have made it to a station in my life where there is value that is being seen because there is value that is being given out. And I really do appreciate that. And I'm very humbled.
Thank you, and it's really our honor to honor the work that you're doing and the way that you're impacting. So it's definitely a two-way street. I want to ask you also when you in this journey, because yours has been very varied, right? And it's had lots of twists and turns and changes, probably all in the creative streak, as you indicated. But did you have times where or a specific time that you recall that you had like a major challenge or something that seemed like a roadblock? And if so, how did you navigate that?
Oh my gosh, there are so many. I can remember back in my early career as a math educator, one of the biggest stumbling blocks was that I was female. I was young and I was African American, and many times being in front of audiences of 200 to 300 people, maybe even 1,000 people in a ballroom, giving a keynote or doing a training. And some people took exception to the fact that I was seen as the quote unquote expert. And so there was the age issue, there was the gender issue, there was the race issue. So all of those things kind of just came into that perfect storm. But I will say this, I learned a lot. It thickened my skin. It helped me to be prepared for people who would challenge my thinking, but it also, I think it created in me a spirit of kindness toward people, because I did understand where many people were coming from with their questions, because it was just, this was new, it was different, it was not what they were used to. A funny story. One time in Mississippi, and I got to the conference and I was helping to unload the boxes, because that's what you do as a keynote speaker. You get in where you fit in, right? And so a lady came, she was wondering, I'm looking for the keynote speaker. And so she thought I was the help. And I said, I'm the keynote. And she looked at me and she said, oh, you're not at all what I expected. And I looked at her with a big smile and I said, oh yeah, you expected the hair back in the bun and the pencils behind the ear. Yeah, I got you. Let's left it at that. So I've had a lot of challenges in my career with those kinds of things. But you know what? We count it all as joy, because we live, we learn, and we're better for it.
And that just is a perfect, I just got goosebumps. That's a perfect depiction of why you are a wow warrior. Because some people would have taken that and put a big old rock chip on their shoulder, and you took it with grace and beauty, and as a way to, you know, I guess if you will say, enlighten and open up her mind to, you know, everything isn't always as it looks or as you suppose it to be. So congratulations on that. I think it's a beautiful way to really look at all situations, because we have that in all different ways, you know, in our lives, that people prejudge or whatever. And, you know, it just shows why you're such a strong woman. So I want to ask, what woman has inspired you, or it might be women that have inspired you and been a role model for you?
Yeah. You know, sometimes we go way outside of the family circle to find those people, but I had to stay within the circle. And I immediately thought about my grandmother, Malvina Garcia. And she was definitely a wild warrior. She was somebody who knew how to make something out of nothing. And she just had a strength of perseverance. When my grandfather was killed in an accident, she was in the car with him and he was changing a tire, and she witnessed all of that. But she still maintained a personality of forgiveness. She was compassionate. She was a people person till the very end. And she always instilled in me a lot of values about teaching and being a human in this world, and how important I was to the world. She reminded me that my name meant she who brings joy, because I'm named after my grandmother's oldest daughter, who would have been my aunt, who was killed in a fire. And so I have this history behind name, but my heritage. And then my mother, who had a sense of humor that was unlike anybody else's. And she was the friendliest person, and she never met a stranger. And so I attribute a lot to them. And then my aunt, who was a lifelong educator, my love and passion for teaching, I know I got from her. And so I have my sense of humor from my mother, and my grandmother, just that tenacity and that grit and that spiritual sense of forgiveness, no matter what, and being optimistic. And that is where I get it from. I did not have to venture outside of my circle.
Oh, what a beautiful tribute to three incredible women. It just points to why you are the wow warrior that you are. I want to talk a little bit about, you know, self-love and self-acceptance. You know, I talk about that all the time, but in society today, it's really, to me, it's undervalued. So I want to ask you, B, how would you encourage other women to recognize their worth if they were questioning it and embracing their true self or being authentic? What advice would you give?
First of all, you cannot be anybody else but yourself. When I hit that marker of 40, I said, oh, 40 is okay. I don't feel any different. And what's the big deal? And then came 50. And things kind of started to change physically as well as mentally. And then when I hit 60, it was yet again this feeling that I got that did not come from me, but from the outside pressure. We are under so much pressure as women in this society to live up to unrealistic goals, sometimes of being super women, super moms, super this, super that, super everything, until we're just super tired and exhausted. And the older we get, I think the more we start to see what can really be peeled away, what's really important and what's not important. If one thing that I would ask people about taking care of themselves is, as soon as possible, figure out what are your things that are absolutely necessary in life, and what things do you really need to free yourselves from, so that you are not carrying this additional baggage, additional stress, and things that are only going to weigh you down mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. It is time for us to take a look in the mirror, be realistic about what we can and cannot do. Do not be afraid to ask for help. Do not be afraid to use what God has given you. You are a beautiful woman, honey. Learn how to use it in a positive way and accentuate your womanhood, your femininity, because God gave you that gift and nobody else has it. So at 65 going on 6, I have just had to say, to heck with the world and what they have to say about us. Age. I am not defined by that, and neither are you.
Beautifully stated. I want to just stand up and cheer, or as I say, stand up and stand out as the unrepeatable miracle that you are. I know you've heard me say it. That is actually one of the cornerstones of a WOW warrior. And we just saw an exact example of why you are a 2024 WOW warrior, because that's exactly what that, I always call it, the anchor of the award is. And thank you so much for that, because that was so inspiring. So I want to ask you, I know that people are probably watching going, she is so cool, I want to get connected with her. B, can you tell us a little bit about how people might connect with you, and so that they can get to know you better?
Okay, so I am on Facebook, B Moore, BEA Moore. I also have another Facebook page. It is I Am a Woman of Grit, because one of the things that I did not mention in the intro is that I'm also an ordained minister. And so I have that side. Thank you to my grandmother and my grandfather for that. And so I Am a Woman of Grit ministry, and that is on Facebook as well. My email address, LUCHIN consulting@gmail.com, is another way you can reach me immediately, or through Facebook Messenger on either of my Facebook pages. And of course, with the cookbook, pinch-done.com, I can be reached there as well. So lots of ways to get in touch with me for whichever purpose you need.
Absolutely. And I hope people will go to pinch-done.com and follow along weekly, because there is a beautiful recipe that is dropped every Wednesday. So if you just want to go along for the tasty treats, you can go to pinch-done.com and actually have your palate delighted. And it's a beautiful presentation in the cookbook, and beautifully done by two amazing women. Dr. Beatrice B. Moore being one of those, passionate cook, and you will be delighted if you do. So I would encourage you to connect with B, whichever way suits you. And as we close out, I just want to say congratulations, B. Moore, for being a 2024 Woman of Worth warrior, a WOW warrior. And wow, we are so grateful to have you part of our community.
Thank you so much. I am delighted to be honored.